Well, what a summer it has been. And for anyone who is still on summertime, let me just say, what a summer we are having, you lucky person, you. Being away from you all, the last 3 months have felt both impossibly long and incredibly short. For those of you who don't know or who I simply have not met yet, I have been away all summer, completing my clinical pastoral education, my CPE rounds at Maine Medical Center up in Portland, Maine. CPE is an internship, one that can take place in many different settings where CPE students, such as I was, provide spiritual care for people. Professionals in this particular field of care are called chaplains. Our own Nancy Reed, such a professional. Chaplains work in many different settings, in hospitals, in rehabs, in prisons, in the military, in fire and police departments, in certain school settings at all levels, in homelessness programs, in hospice centers. Wherever you find people experiencing the extremes of life, you also may find a chaplain there, providing spiritual care. So Maine Medical Center, where I was full-time from June to August, is about a 700-bed hospital, the only Trauma One hospital north of Boston. And for many folks, it is the last stop before a transfer down to Mass General or Boston Children's. It sees some of the most critically ill patients from Maine, New Hampshire, and parts of northern Massachusetts. I was one of 7 CPE interns this summer. My cohort was comprised of a rabbinical student from Hebrew College in Newton, a Buddhist community leader from the Portland area, an Episcopal student from the BU School of Theology who actually knows Bridget Kinahan, our summer intern. That was a fun connection to make. There were 2 Vietnamese Roman Catholic seminarians, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk who had recently graduated from Harvard Divinity School, and then little old me. So along with our didactic classroom time, we were also all assigned specific units throughout the hospital that we were to regularly round on and care for during the day. Seeing my resume, I suppose, my units were the pediatric inpatient, the pediatric intensive care unit, the PICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, some of the most critically ill newborn children, and then the continuing care nursery, which is like the neonatal inpatient, and then the psych unit, which was a geriatric unit serving older folks who had different mental, emotional, and psychiatric illnesses. It was a lot. Along with our regular day shifts, we also had to do at least 1 on-call shift a week, and these were either from 3:30 to 11:30 p.m. or they were overnights, 11:30 p.m. to 7:30 a.m. And during that time, we were flying solo, the only one chaplain in the building. We were carrying the on-call pager, serving the entire hospital, responding to all codes and consults. It was a lot. At least 1 unit of CPE is required by our denomination for full ordination into Christian ministry, and it is one of the very last big boxes for me to check on that journey. And as the end of August rolled around and I was checking that one last big box, I could not wait. I was so excited to come back and be the church again, this church again, after a long, difficult, and frankly, at times, challenging summer apart. And the sweetness that I find for my return, the beginning of this new program year, I have discovered that it is again twinged by the sourness of pandemic. Just when I thought that there was maybe a chance to possibly begin imagining normalcy together again, something else occurs. I had completely unplugged from Hancock while I was away, and when I plugged back in and was brought up to speed by Barbara and Mark and Jenna, well, have you ever had the experience of going on a long-awaited vacation, and then you arrive at the hotel where you will be staying, and you open the door to your room, and it's nothing like the pictures? like you might need to actually go down to the front desk and have a conversation about it, kind of a thing. That was kind of the experience I had hearing about what was going on. All summer, I had been thinking and dreaming about what it was going to be like to come back, to be with you, to be with our children again, to work in this incredible program again, and finding that it was not quite as I had left it, or had hoped that it was going to turn into. Now, I don't want you to read too deeply into that. I don't want you to take that in too much, because that's not yours to own. It's mine to own. It's my reaction, and I do own it. And I share it with you, not to lament or bemoan, but to just simply acknowledge that over here, this side of the chancel, that I had wished also, that we had wished also, and hoped that this fall would be different, that this fall would enter like spring and be what we all want and hope and need most right now. I share this because a very wise former senior minister of Hancock Church once told me that there aren't two different worlds. If you are feeling something, someone else is probably feeling it too. So name it, and then work together. So to that end, though I still haven't seen too many folks, I have spoken with some of you and sensed that same sourness on tongues also there. Sweet and sour, hope and disappointment. There it is. Now, what to do with it? What to do? Well, feeling all of this right now, along with some of you, let me tell you what I think we are going to do. And you can take it or leave it. That's fine. We are going to continue. We're going to continue to be held and protected and emboldened, continue to be sent and called and centered squarely on the wisdom and the history of this faith that has brought us this far together, because it has. And what does the history and wisdom of this faith offer us this morning in this moment where we find ourselves holding our hope in one hand, our despair in the other hand? It says to show no favoritism between what shows up at your door. James says show no favoritism among people. And I say we ought to show no favoritism either between our hope and our despair. In this moment, no favoritism between our excitement and our sadness, our joy and our pain. For if we show favorites, if we are partial to our hope and our excitement and our steam, our drive, all that we had hoped and wanted this fall to be, if we are partial to that and we move forward without care, we will lose people. We will hurt people. We will endanger people. We will force people who we love to decide between their church and their safety, and that has been something that we have said we will not do this entire time. But on the flip side, if we are partial to our fear, and we become frozen and blind to the possibilities of being together, new possibilities since this time last year, partiality to our fear closes us off from what we are afforded by good, reliable science, by responsible policy, and by careful and compassionate planning. We are called to open the door of our heart, and there stands hope and despair. And we, through the faithfulness of Christ, the guardianship of God, and the tether of this faith, say yes. You both have arrived. Come in, have a seat. Together, we will listen to both, consider both, letting not one or the other take control or shout over the other, and then, having shown no partiality, and so held in the faithfulness of Christ, we will make the next best right decision together. It is what we are called to do as Christians, and it's what we have been doing every week since March 12th, 2020. holding two contrasting feelings without giving in to either of them fully, that is difficult. And I am feeling that difficulty in this particular moment, having been gone for so long and missing you, missing this church. Simultaneously, as I lament much of what the Delta variant has done to my hopes and plans for this fall, I cannot deny the fact also that to be with you, standing in our sanctuary, worshiping with you, connecting with you, is ringing more joyously in my heart than any homecoming I can recall recently. And so we hold both. We listen to both, and then we act together in faith. And if none of this is jiving with you, if none of this is making any sense with you, I say we should do this if for no other reason than the fact that we simply must. Because what else would we do? Who else would we want to be in a time and a place such as this? From being in a hospital all summer, meeting with patients, helping them hold their hope and their fear, celebrating their successes and weeping with their pains, I can tell you that what you find on the other side of the opening door, it is never more powerful than deciding what kind of person or people you will be in meeting it. So yes, let us be a people who shows no favoritism or partiality. Let us be a people who meets the moment in peace and in courage and acts through wisdom and care. Let us give our hope and our despair each their appropriate time and place, no more than they deserve and no less than they are worth. And let us do all of it in the confidence that Christ stands and works beside us as we do. That our church family, as we plan, that we are not throwing darts at a board, but that we are guided by holy wisdom, by sacred love, and the deep, deep faithfulness of our God. It is so good to be home again. Amen.